Right, I've got another NPC upgrade build for you, and today we're looking at G3's, and forgive me for butchering this name, Huahai's Li Long AC. Now, this is a pretty bog standard AC compared to, I feel like, a lot of the builds I've been doing recently, a lot of the NPC setups I've been doing recently. This was really, really standard. You know, a machine gun, missile launchers, and a shield. Pretty basic, pretty simple, nothing too crazy going on. But now, what are the main issues with it? Well, I kind of just feel like this is another case of like similar to how I mentioned with Aguazu's build. It's almost like it was designed for like the frame load, like the frame itself and the weapon loadout were almost designed for different weight classes of builds, right? So kind of the main focus for upgrading this build is going to be taking, the current weapon choices and the current frame parts and kind of upgrading them to, at least the frame parts, at least upgrading the better parts overall, and the weapons, upping that firepower to sort of be more in line with what you would expect of a build of, the weight class that the original build was going for, right? Now, what have I done with it? Well, as you can see, I switched out the original Ludlow machine gun for the Gatling gun. This is mainly for a really consistent impact dealer, and also a surprisingly good direct hit damage dealer. I really butchered that one, huh? But it's a pretty good direct hit damage dealer, way more than you expect. It's got a pretty high direct hit adjustment, and over the course of a stagger, you can do a lot more damage than you might expect. And of course, pushed out the missile launchers to kind of things I prefer a bit more. It originally uses 2 split missile launchers, and the split missile launchers, in my opinion, are kind of oddly good and bad at the same time. It feels like either they're really good or really bad, basically, right? They're kind of just inconsistent in my experience, at least. Either all the missiles hit or none of them hit. Yeah, in my experience. You might disagree with that. But that's how I feel about them, so I don't really like them that much, because, again, they feel a little inconsistent. But I switched out his original missile launchers for one that feel a bit more consistent, and ones that have a bit more utility overall, right? Now, let's go ahead and get into the details. Now, as always, starting the weapons first, we've got the Hu Ben Gatling gun, switched out from his original Ludlow machine gun. And the main reason here, I just wanted more impact output, and from the Ludlow to the machine gun, or the Gatling gun, is a pretty, standard logical upgrade. More bullets out, more damage, more impact. The only thing you really have to be concerned here with the Gatling gun is it can overheat pretty quickly, and if it does overheat, it takes quite a long time to cool down, and it can run out of ammo quite fast. But other than that, it's a really decent impact weapon, and even as a directed weapon, it's surprisingly good. It does have a really high directed adjustment stat, and it can really surprise you just how much damage you can output, even with just one Gatling gun. You can do a lot of damage throughout the duration of a stagger, right? And moving on to Siege Missile Launcher. Originally, he has this one right here, Split Missile Launcher. And I switched this out for the Siege Missile Launcher because I find it's way more consistent overall. It's honestly, you could stick with either one. It doesn't really matter that much. But personally, I find this one to be way more consistent. I find the Split Missile Launchers tend to be either really good or really bad. Either they'll all connect or none of them will connect. And for that reason, I don't really like them very much. Again, it's a personal thing. If you would prefer to have this instead, if you want to try messing around with a bit like this, go ahead and go for it. And moving on, the back unit, the missile launcher. He originally has a split missile launcher here, and I've decided to switch it out for this standard forward fire missile launcher, because I wanted a option that if you're playing PvE with this build, a multi-target lock missile launcher, right? Not something you can really do with split missile launchers, right? So it really is just more of a personal preference. Again, I mentioned just a second ago that I don't really like the split missile launchers because I find that, and again, sometimes they're really, really good, and sometimes they're really, really bad, at least in my experience. And moving on for the shield, I switched out his original one, which is, I believe it's this one, and I switched it out for this Pulse Buckler. Now, in terms of standard shields, excluding the Coral Shield, I think this Pulse Buckler is by far my favorite. It's got a really long instant guard duration, and it's got a pretty good amount of instant stats, 82% mitigation, and 76 impact dampening. Now, it does overheat quite quickly when you deploy it. It's something you have to be aware. It builds just over half of the cooling. So if you kind of spam it too quickly, you will overheat really, really, really fast, right? Just something to be aware of. Overall, except for the Coral Shield, it is definitely my favorite shield overall. Definitely the one I would tend to use. And that's all there is to say about the weapons. Let's go and move on into the frame parts. All right, so I made quite a few changes to the frame. Started at the head, we've got the Basho head. Switched that from the original Tincheng head. Now, the main reason here, well, I guess there's two main reasons. When I shaved down weight in other parts of the build, and I wanted to get a bit more AP and stability out of the head part, and the Basho head looks quite similar overall to the Tincheng head. Got that sort of rectangular sort of profile to it. So I thought it was a pretty good swap overall. It's obviously when you're way heavier, it's got about the same energy load, which is nice. But again, really big AP added to stability increase. Now for the core, I switched out his original Tincheng core for the Mind Alpha core. This is definitely a defensive downgrade, but I wanted to save a bit of weight here, and I wanted a bit more. I wanted more booster efficiency, and I wanted more generator supply adjustment. I just wanted a bit more, I guess, offensive stats out of the core, I guess would be the best way to put it. And the Mind Alpha, retains pretty good defenses overall, while again shaving off some weight and having a bit overall better stats, right? Now, moving on to the arms, I switched out the original Melender arms for the Melender C3. Main reason here was just to shave down a bit more weight, right? You see, even just the Melender arms takes it all the way to 0.85 on the quick boost reload time, and the 0.79 the build has right now. And that was the main reason there. Just needed to shave down the weight. I didn't find there was a particularly big difference in terms of how the build felt, in terms of, between the Melender and the Melender C3. Obviously, the Melender C3 has more firearm spec, and the Melender has more recoil control, right? I didn't really notice a big difference either way between them. It's not like the Gatling gun has terrible recoil to begin with, and I left the legs alone, of course. And overall, the frame turned out quite nice. I think it looks way better, personally. And more importantly, defensively and offensively, I think it's quite a solid upgrade overall. I've maintained roughly the same mobility while having better boost speed, though. But defensively and offensively, I think the frame's in a much better spot than the original put out, right? And that's all there is to say about the frame. Let's go ahead and move on into the internals. Now, starting the boosters, I've switched out the original P04 boosters for the NGI001 boosters. Now, I've talked many times about those boosters. They're really, really good all around. But compared to the original boosters, I had a couple specific reasons I wanted to switch. One, way better boost speed. As you can see, compared to what I would have, with his real boosters, for 20 extra boost speed, and also about 20 extra quick boost speed, right? So overall, quite a nice mobility upgrade. It is, at least in terms of upward thrust and quick boost, it is a energy consumption downgrade. But I've also switched out the generator for one for bigger energy bar, so you don't even notice it, right? And yeah, it's just a solid upgrade all around. You're all aware of just how good these boosters are, right? They're really, really good boosters all around. Really, really solid. And obviously as well, I've added more weight to the build, and the P04s just simply can't handle the extra weight, right? And you see, it turns the quick boost reload time all the way to 1.05. When the original build's reload time was really similar to my current reload time. I think it was 0.76, might be 0.78. Really, really close to the current stats, right? And moving on to Talbot FCS. Now, the minigun's ideal range is at the very border. Close range assist is 130. Close range assist is also 130. And I do tend to find myself that being kind of the range I play with the minigun. So I decided I wanted an FCS that also had decent medium range assist. Typically, I often find myself again that kind of border, like I'm kind of going to be like 120 to 150 meters away from my opponent when I'm using the minigun, right? And also, since the missile launchers on the build already have really fast lock-on times, you don't really need any better than average lock-on stats for them. I think originally he has this FCS, one of these two. It's super overkill. You don't really need it. And again, I wanted that extra close range assist, especially for the Gatling gun. And then the medium range assist is nice, even if you really should be trying to keep within that 130 meter, right? Now, moving on, finally, the generator. Original generator is the Ming-Tang, and I switched it out for the Santai. Big reason here, way more energy capacity and slightly better energy output as well, right? Also, only slightly. And I do find it is basically the extra energy supply efficiency you get kind of makes these recover at basically the same speed anyways. But the main difference being here, it does start, recovering a little bit later. It does, and I don't know, that's really it, to be honest. It's just way bigger energy bar for pretty much the only downgrade is it weighs way more, right? The Sentai is just way heavier, and that's really the only downgrade compared from the Ming-Tang realistically, right? And yeah, that's all there is to say about the internals. Originally he has assault boost on. I didn't see a reason to change it. And yep, now that's all there is to say. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. I also want to say, if this feels a bit rushed, it's because it was. I had to take a couple days off for a couple reasons, and I'm kind of in a bit of a time crunch at the moment to get this video made and get it out. But, as always, if you guys enjoyed the video, I'll catch you in the next one.
4621. We're not here to take back the Raven yet. However, we will see if you can do it justice. Apologies for the delay, King.
You're late. The imposter already got your troops. We can't take chances.
2 repair teams remaining.
You're strong. Worthy of your name.
AC6 destroyed.
Thank you, King. We've lost both of them.
One AC left, Raven.
1 repair team remaining.
The Raven is a symbol of resolve. Well to choose what one fights for.
Stay focused, Raven.
Left-hand ammunition at 50%. Right shoulder AP at 50%.
Yes, Raven, I feel it too. This mercenary has potential.
Will to choose.
No repair teams remaining. Left-hand ammunition, 30%.
Raven, we can still... All right. We'll watch this one. See where they go on a Raven's wings.
All enemy ACs destroyed. Mission accomplished.